if you're looking for a tier list for competitive PvP, such as rated, arenas, battlegrounds, etc., then this is not the video for you. This video is strictly for solo PvP, out in the world, maybe even solo queue or random battlegrounds, but mainly open world, a tier list about each class's power in a standalone situation without any support, but with every single buff and perk, world PvP, item, trinket, etc., whatever that you can possibly get to make your class as powerful as possible. That's what this tier list is about. It's about which class has the best potential to be the most insane in world PvP. And what that equates to basically is how many players can you verse at once in 1v2, 1v3, X, 1vx, etc. So with that out of the way, let's get on with video. So we're going to be going pretty in depth with each spec. So I want this video to serve as like a conversation between world PvPers to reach a consensus on the best classes or best specs for world PvP. World PvP. So by no means is this gospel. This is just some things that I've observed throughout the Dragonflight class changes and whatnot. Without further ado, let's get on with it. Alrighty, so here we are. We're going to be ranking classes out of 5 different categories, and you can get 5 points for each category. So for example, let's start with Frost Death Knight. So the burst, the general consensus in the community, I believe, is that the burst isn't that great for Frost Death Knight. While yes, you can obviously buff it to the shithouse in open world PvP with the Marksman Hunter Bakar buff, but you do not have that all the time. It's just generally standalone Frost Death Knight burst. I'd say is about a let's say a 4. Okay, let's give it a 3 for now, because there are much burstier specs in the game. Like look at Windwalker Monk, blow you up in a second. So the best burst of Frost Knight just isn't quite there. Mobility, okay, so obviously a 1 because it's a Death Knight. Yes, they can grip targets to you. You have Wraithwalk, and the other one, Death's Advance or whatever, which are great cooldowns, but they're not going to get you out of a fight. And if you get 2 people jump on you out in the world, like you get overwhelmed, you get slowed, you get run down, you won't be able to get away. The mobility is a 1. Cooldown reliance. I think they are quite cooldown reliant, because they're only like self-sustain is Death Strike. So yeah, it's probably a 3. Tankiness. Now versus casters, they're super tanky, but versus melee, they're not very tanky at all. They don't have any physical damage reduction. They would just get absolutely destroyed. But like a lot of their defensives are quite good. So we'll give them a 4, I think. CC. The CC is about a 3. So Frost Death Knight, world PvP, probably swamp tier. What's that? 3 plus 1 plus 3 plus 4 plus 3 is 14. Okay, so we got Frost Death Knight. A tier? No, man, that's definitely a B tier. Hell no, we'll just give them we'll give them that. Okay, they're definitely not good. You won't have a good time in world PvP, solo world PvP, as a Frost Death Knight. Unholy Death Knight, on the other hand, is apparently quite good. Now, because Unholy is a pet, and the pet constantly sticks on your target, the mobility is still 1, dude. What am I saying? I say they're not very cooldown reliant, and they are definitely more tanky, and they have more CC. They're quite bursty. They're not. They're more like the Affliction Warlock of melee DPS. They have the same mobility as Frost Death Knight. It's a 1 still. Because you got to remember, this is the open world. Okay? Like, yeah, you can add things, but so can mobile classes, So cooldown reliance. I'd say they're not like... I think they are quite cooldown reliant, honestly. But they are definitely more tanky. They're super tanky. Super tanky. So what's that? 4, 7, 12, 16. So Unholy is going into the A tier. There you go. Your first A tier spec. Amazing. Alright, what are we up to now? Havoc Demon Hunter. Oh, this is gonna be a good one. Havoc DH. Burst. The burst is good, but it's not like super good. Mobility is a 5. Obviously, it's a demon hunter. You can escape any fight. If you time your dashes and your vengeful retreat right, you can escape pretty much any fight. That like vengeful retreat into nitro boost, mate, you're gone. You are out of there. Plus dashes, you can escape. Now they are not very cooldown reliant because you can play a build where you have I-beam back all the time, constantly. It's a Cycler of Hatred, I believe. Reduces the cooldown of I-beam with the more fury you spend. I mean, sorry, it's a Chaos Strike. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. You can get your cooldowns back fast. The only cooldowns that you can't get back fast are your defensives. But Metamorphosis is basically a defensive because it gives you that leech and haste. Which makes you just, heal. As long as you're on target, you can heal. They are super fucking squishy. Like, super squishy. CC is actually pretty good. I'd say it's and you can have fear. If you wanted to get max CC, you've got a ranged interrupt, a ranged incapacitate, ranged fear, a ranged stun, and an AoE stun. Okay? And a 50% slow all the time from your throw glaive. Definitely a 4. What's that? 10. So 17. So Havoc Demon Hunter is in the A tier for open world PvP. Alright, next up we have the Balance Druid. So Balance Burst. They do have insane burst with... Obviously all these classes are going to have nutty burst when you give them the the world PvP buffs and whatnot. But just by itself, like Balance does have pretty substantial burst. And especially having that extra range on all your abilities, it's very, very beneficial. Mobility, I mean, you're a druid, but like shapeshifting is off the global cooldown. So, depends on your haste level really. If you get max, like stack haste up, well, you can be pretty quickly to shift out of stuff. Mobility is still a 5. It's still a 5. You're super mobile. If you're a good balanced druid, you can be super hard to catch. Cooldown reliance. You are... I mean, you have bark skin. You have a long cooldown on your burst. You can still kill without cooldowns though. So I would say they're probably a 3. Tankiness. They're quite tanky. Definitely a... having bear form on that. Plus, once you've got 10 stacks of the PvP set bonus, that'll give you 20% extra versatility. So you can be quite tanky indeed with that. Plus, like food buffs and whatnot, all sorts of other stuff. You also have stealth, you can just easily get away. CC's a 5 because of Cyclone. Roots, knockbacks, stuns, like spammable cyclones. Like your CC's a 5. CC out the bloody wazoo, mate. So that gives them 10, 16, a 20. We have our first, ladies and gentlemen, we have our first S tier for World PvP. If you're a skilled balanced druid, you can absolutely just have a great time in World PvP. Feral Druid. Feral Druid, the only really difference, I'd say it's pretty similar really. Burst, it's about a 4. It's very high. Once you get those bleeds ramped up, you can just absolutely eat somebody alive. Mobility is a 5. Cooldown reliance, about a 3 as well. Not super, but are somewhat. Tankiness, they're a bit less tanky than Balanced Druid. And then CC, you don't have the fast cyclone, so CC is about a 4. So they're a bit less than Balance. So yeah, give them a 18. So they're in the B tier. Okay, Feral is in the B tier. They're just not as tanky because of regrowth, not healing for anything. Like you could survive a lot if regrowth actually healed. because you get the instant cast procs. If it healed as much as a balanced Druid regrowth, you'll be insane. You will be the best world PvP class in the game. But because regrowth just doesn't heal, like it just does not. It does like 2% of your health. It's literally a bloodthirst from Fury Warrior. It's an absolute joke. I don't know. I don't understand why it heals for so little, but it does. So if Feral Druid's regrowth healed for more, it'd be insane for world PvP because you literally have everything. This class has everything: mobility, burst, CC, stealth, like super good class for world PvP. It's just squishy as hell. You have some good cooldowns, but they're pretty long. You have Barked-in, which is pretty meh. You have bear form, yes, but like if you're not in bear form, then you're not really doing anything. Balanced Druids regrowths can like top you. Plus Swiftman, you can plus some talents, some PvP talents. You can top yourself like in a few casts. That's what makes it super good. And that's why Feral isn't in the S tier, unfortunately. It's definitely an A tier spec though, 100%. Okay, now we have Evoker. Honestly, guys, I don't know anything about Evoker. My understanding is that they're also hell squishy, not very mobile because you have to be up close to actually hit people. I'm assuming they're going to be pretty bad for world PvP. Yeah, you can probably blow people up once in a while, but in like overall, like your ability to fight in world PvP solo, it's pretty limited, I think. Beast Mastery Hunter. Okay. BM Hunter. I think they don't have any bursts. It's like a 3. It's just consistent damage. Mobile. They're very mobile. They're not really cooldown reliant because their cooldowns come back so fast. They're pretty squishy though. They have some CC. 5, 10. So they're about 17. You know, they're in the A tier. Survival Hunter. I've seen some people do some pretty crazy things on Survival Hunter. It's mobile, has great burst. It's a little bit cooldown reliant. Has great CC. It's an S tier spec for our PvP. You just got to know when to run, get away. I don't know. Is Survival Hunter actually good? I don't know, guys. Like, I'm not an expert in every class. Like, help me out in the comments. Let me know your opinions on Hunter. I don't play the class. I don't plan to play the class. It's just not my thing. It is the only spec that I do really like is Marksman. It's just kind of cool. But yeah. Anyways, let's continue on. Let's go with Hunter. So Hunter has... It's always been a really bursty class, right? So it's got massive burst. It's not mobile at all. What does it have? Disengage. And that's it. GG, no re. As soon as people get on top of you, you're pretty much forced to press turtle. And then once that's over, it's all over. So the cooldown reliance is pretty high. Jesus. Oh no, I've screwed it up. There we go. 2. Tankiness, they're wet noodle. They have good CC though. But they don't play with a pet, so they don't have that the pet stun. So it's about a 3. Excuse me. Jesus. So that gives us a grand total of 14, landing safely in the B tier, which is not where you want to be. Alright, Arcane Mage. Burst is out the wazoo, mobility is out the wazoo, but cooldown reliance is extremely cooldown reliant. Kind of tanky, a little bit tanky. You do have some things. But didn't they change Ice Block to make it like a shield wall? Has good CC as well. So Arcane is, it can be great, but you don't have any self-healing. AKA, you don't have any self-sustain. AKA, you don't have any tankiness. I'll change this to tankiness / self-sustain. They kind of go hand in hand. Yeah. What do you have? Shield, ice barrier, arcane barrier, whatever it is. And after that, not much. Yeah, you can get away, but you don't have anything to heal yourself. You have to stop and eat food. So, so in like long-term PvP, world PvP fights, even with like max buffs and stuff, like yeah, you can blow people up like pretty quickly. But like all you need to do is have a red paladin pop the one shield and then also blow everything on you when you have no blink, no ice block, etc. That's it, you know. Ice block's a long cooldown. If you get caught out, you get deleted. So that's why, unfortunately, they're going to have to be not an S tier. 17 points. Land them in the A tier. Fire Mage. Similar thing to Arcane. The mobility isn't quite the same because I believe you don't have you don't take Shimmer. You don't have the Arcane Barrage speed increase or whatever it is. It's like super high. It's like 60%. It's insane. Also, I think you're not as cooldown reliant. You're not tanky at all, unfortunately. CC is pretty much the same. You're probably 5 because you have Dragon's Breath. Let's just go with 4. Okay, keep it the same because I'm not 100%. I believe every mage spec can take Dragon's Breath. But yeah, it's that's probably what we're gonna have to go with Fire Mage, I think. Yep. Burst is insane. Like you can blow somebody up. You don't have any self-sustain though, and you're quite cooldown reliant, unfortunately. So that puts us at 9, 10, 14, 16. So they are in the A tier. Honestly, that doesn't seem right. Like I just don't think Fire Mage. I just don't think Mage in general can like survive. Like even though they're in the world, like against multiple people, there's only so much kiting you can do until you just get run down. Because you have no way to keep yourself up. You have no way to self-sustain. So I feel like the only specs of Mage that could be in the A tier are Frost. Or maybe Arcane. Let's go with Frost Mage. So Frost Mage is actually like tanky, from what I understand. Not super tanky, obviously, and they don't have any self-sustain, but they have great just general tankiness. Yeah, so Frost Mage doesn't really have much burst. Like, yeah, you have Glacial Spark, but that has to be built up. They don't have on-demand burst like the other specs do, Arcane and Fire. So the burst is lower. Mobility is still, you know, almost the best in the game. A 4. They are... Obviously, it's a Mage. You know, you're still cooldown reliant because you're a bit tankier because you have 2 ice blocks and you can reset the by resetting the cooldown on ice block and all that jazz. Cold Snap is the ability. Obviously, you're a Mage, so you have great CC as well. But yeah, the cooldown reliance issue is basically what brings the Mage class in general down for world PvP. Yeah, you don't have like the greatest like upkeep for yourself, like self-sustain, etc, etc. So yeah, that's gonna have to bring the class down to, what was that, 5, 9, 13, 16? Yep, 6, 10, 16. Holy shit, maths was hard, bro. It's an A tier. I'm still pretty up in the air about that, having Mage in A tier. Okay, Windwalker Monk. Now this has received some like the burst is absolutely ridiculous. The mobility is ridiculous. They're not super cooldown reliant because they have like so many cooldowns you can just rotate through, and you also have the just a constant self healing like expel harm, instant vivifiers. They're super tanky. The CC is just the only thing that's really lacking in. So that's at 10, 15, 19, holy shit, 21. Yeah, this is a solid S tier. I think that's higher than Boomkin. Yep. Oh yeah, I should probably put him in order, hey. Oh well. It's a bit late for that now. Anyways, I'm sure we're only going to really be interested in the S tier specs anyway, so you get the gist of it. And who's to say this rating system, this rating system is just completely arbitrary, honestly. It's not arbitrary, but like it's not exact, you know what I mean? It's not perfect, okay? It does have its weaknesses, just like every class. Windwalker Monk, easy S tier, you know, especially if you have like 10 stacks of the World PvP buff, 20% versatility. That's like 20% increased healing and damage. You'll be, and also the what is it, 10% extra damage reduction on top of your 30% versatility that you already probably have from PvP gear. That combined with the Bakar buffs from the Maruk Centaur, and then all the food buffs, you can escape whenever you want, you know, with the mobility you have. You can also set up like a zoning areas where with your port, you can be a zoner, just like a Warlock or Caster can do. You can have your port set up, and you can drop down onto like a bunch of people, pop everything, just blow everybody up in a few seconds, and then just port back up if you have to. And if you're a Night Elf, you can just Shadow Mail, drop combat, fly away. Yeah, no. The Windwalker Monk is definitely up there. Probably one of the best world PvP classes currently, right now. Alright, next up, Shadow Priest. Shadow Priest doesn't have burst. It does have burst, but it's not as great as some other classes. It's more about dots, but it does have big burst. Mobility, it doesn't have any mobility, but it does. You can remove slows every 20 seconds with Fade. And if you macro that in with Angelic Feather, that's a 40% movement speed increase, slow removal, and complete immunity to every attack for like 1 to 4 seconds. Every 20 seconds. That in itself, that little package combo, you macro everything into that, and you can avoid so much damage and get away. You don't have any, you can't really escape fights, but you could probably outlive a lot. Like, yeah, you can fade and then nitro boost away every 2 minutes. But that's only if things are like, that's pretty much your last line of defense. Because you don't have any like super high mobility to escape. But everything else, like you have insane self-sustain, you're super tanky, and you have insane CC. You have like the fears, the stuns, the mind controls, the silence. Your CC is huge. You just don't have any mobility. So it's 5, 10, 15, 19, another 21. So like Shadow Priest is also another potential S tier world PvP specialization. Yeah, you can do some things to increase your mobility, like there's some potions, File of Alacrity, and obviously if you have max world PvP buffs, that's an extra 20% movement speed. So that combined with your consistent speed increase from your shield can make you like super fast. That will put you like through the roof, I reckon. If you had all that stacked up, your mobility is probably more like a 4, which would put you like S+ God tier. But don't forget, every other class can also do that. So that's why we can't judge. That's why we can't base these classes around that. Anyways, moving on. Assassination Rogue. Us. Now, I don't think they have big bursts. They don't really. It's more like a rotting. Like, comparison to other classes like Sub-Rogue and Windwalker Monk, the burst, just, you can't put it at a 4. It's a 3. Mobility, let's say it's about, like, you have Shadow Step and then you have Sprint, but those are also cooldowns, so they're not super mobile. They do have actually good baseline mobility, but like mobility versus like a Demon Hunter, it's just does not compare in any way, shape or form. And they are super cooldown reliant. All rogue specs are cooldown reliant. If you don't have your cooldowns, if you get caught out in the world with no vanish, no cloak or no evasion after you've been like worn down, it's gonna be a rough time. You're probably just gonna die. CC is obviously a 5. They are tankier than Demon Hunter, that's for sure, with the amount of cooldowns you have. But the cooldown reliance brings them down. I feel like we needed another tier for A. We need like A, then we need A+, then we need S. Or maybe we just make oh shit, I need to redo this. Anyways, let's carry on. Assassination Rogue. Yeah, cool. 6, it's 11, 12, 15. So I just did the other half of this video for the last half an hour and realized that it wasn't even recording. So here's the next half of the video, and it's not as good, but I'm sorry. I wasn't recording, and it's really, really, really annoying. Anyways, without further ado, continue on with the video. So I've changed it around, so it's we've actually got a 20 point starting S tier, so that'll bring survival down to the A tier. I think it belongs there. It's not really an S tier spec for world PvP. So yeah, Assassination Rogue. Burst, pretty low. It's pretty cooldown reliant. CC is obviously a 5 because it's a rogue. It's got a lot of CC. It's not very tanky. It doesn't have much self-sustain, if any, outside of your defensive cooldowns. You know, it's just not that great for world PvP. Yeah, it's great if you want to like just sit in the stealth and every now and again maybe kill someone. Yeah, but if you want to have good fights and like really like maximize your class's potential, rogue's not it, man. Unless you play sub-rogue and they don't nerf it. But we'll get to that. So yeah, Assassination Rogue is a B tier. Outlaw Rogue, they are a bit more mobile. Not as cooldown reliant. And they're a bit more tanky and stuff, because they have that cooldown reduction built in to the spec, okay? So yeah. Oh, sorry. So Outlaw Rogue, they don't have any bursts. It's sustained damage, really. They're a bit more mobile because they have that cooldown reduction built in to like all their abilities. So they constantly have sprint up. Cooldown reliance. They're not as cooldown reliant because, again, the cooldown reduction natively built into the spec. And they're a bit tankier than Assassination due to that cooldown reduction. And obviously they're a rogue, so they've got 5 CC. Max, they got the best CC in the game. Hands down. No other class can do it better than a rogue. Maybe a balanced druid. Anyways. So we got 7, 10, Jesus, 15, 18. That is a high A tier potential spec for world PvP. Somehow it's made it all the way up there. Anyways, Sub-Rogue. Sub Rogue burst is out the frickin' wazoo, man. Okay, they're also very mobile because of the shadow steps. I mean, you're a rogue, you can be quite mobile. Not as mobile as Demon Hunter and Monk, but the mobility is super good. Cooldown reliance, they're not as cooldown reliant because they have that Shadow Dance. That Shadow Dance comes up so often because it has built-in cooldown reduction, right? They also have more cooldowns. They have 2 charges of Vanish. Yeah, they're overall just a lot better. They also are a bit more tankier because they have that shield when they vanish. It's subtlety only, and obviously the 5 for TC. So I mean, Sub Rogue's insane for world PvP. Like if you got every buff, like, you know, max stack world PvP gear, all the food buffs and stuff, holy shit, you'd be pretty insane. You would be insane. And if I were to do that, like, you don't need too much to like maximize the damage. I feel like you'd just go for like every survivability option you can get. So like Battle Master Trinket that gives you the health. There's item buffs from the NPC that gives you healing, shit like that. But yeah, I'd say they're still quite cooldown reliant. Honestly, it's a rogue. They can't like stay in the fight. You have to escape. If you can escape, but you can quite easily get run down once all your cooldowns are like burnt through. But everything else is just insane for Sub Rogue. So that's 7. What do we got? 10, 14, 17, 22. Holy shit, that's the highest we've ever gotten. Goodness gracious me. I still feel like Windwalker's better because of all its defensive buffs. It can actually brawl and like just live forever if you rotate through your cooldowns properly. Yeah, that can be insane. Alright, Shaman. Let's do the Elemental Shaman. Ellie has big bursts. It doesn't have much mobility. You really have to spec into it. In the talent tree, it's unfortunate. You lose out on a lot of other things if you do that. If you want mobility, you really have to sacrifice a lot for it, which is why it's got pretty poor mobility, in my opinion. Cooldown reliance, about a 3. Yeah, it's not very tanky at all. It has to stand still and cast, and it has 1 defensive cooldown, Astral Shift. That's it. Once that's done, what are you going to do? If you get jumped on by like 2 melee, they're just going to kick you as soon as you try and heal. So you really don't have much. They're not very well designed for world PvP. CC is like a 3. It's alright. It's not great. Yeah, so that's 5, 10, 13, 16. Well, they've made it into the A tier somehow. I don't think they belong there, honestly. See, that's where this tier list is not ideal, not great. But hey, it's a work in progress. Enhanced Shaman also has big burst. It's not as cooldown reliant because it can just do damage consistently due to Maelstrom weapon, and also the cooldown reduction of Spirit Wolves is super high, so you always have Spirit Wolves up. It's not as cooldown reliant. Probably one of the least cooldown reliant classes in the game. Also because you have the instant cast self healing, so which makes their self sustain actually really good. Again, they're not super tanky. Like, you will die in a stun, but that self sustain is really, really good with the instant cast self healing. So we're kind of going to have to leave it at 4, I think. Yeah. Okay, so that's 12, 16, 19. Holy shit. So that's up there, top of the A tier. Next class, we have the Warlocks. Okay, so Affliction. Affliction Warlock has no burst. It's a dot class, okay? You're not going to blow somebody up. like a Windwalker Monk. You're just not going to happen. Okay, mobility. You have a portal and gate. That's it. You don't have any mobility. Okay, it's a 1, unfortunately. It's cooldown reliance. It isn't cooldown reliant at all. It can always do damage, which is what makes it quite good. Its tankiness and self-sustain got nerfed recently, so unfortunately it's like a 3. Honestly, I'm gonna have to leave it at 4 though. It's very tanky caster. Like, it's a warlock, right? So warlocks are tanky. CC is okay. You have fear, an AoE stun, mortal coil. That's it, really. CC is pretty good. Yeah, it's about a 3, I'd say. Yeah, I think we're gonna go with that. So it's 5, 10, 14. Yeah, I mean, it's not that great for world PvP, guys. You're playing Warlock, you're probably on the wrong class if you're on world PvP. I honestly don't. I think the same can be said for every Warlock spec. Like, I'm not a Warlock main, so I chime down in the comments if anybody like thinks anything different. Obviously, like I mentioned earlier, like, we all know Demo was really, really good for the longest time. I don't know if it's been nerfed or what, but yeah. Warlocks, let me know in the comments. Arms Warrior. So warriors I know a little bit about. Arms Warrior. They have burst. I don't think it's Windwalker Monk level though. They are very, very mobile, being a warrior. In combat though, you have to be in combat for the mobility to actually be worth while, like charge and whatnot. That's actually kind of a weakness in world PvP, because if you need to escape, the only mobility you have, like, really, it's just a race against time as a warrior in world PvP. I don't think it's that great for it, honestly. It's not really cooldown reliant. It doesn't have any self-sustain. It's got a bit of tankiness, but the self-sustain is not there. So yeah, that's where it's going to have to go, I think. So we got 5. What's that? 5, 8. Bro, why don't I just use a calculator? I swear to God. 15. Now, Fury Warrior, on the other hand, their self-sustain is like amazing. They can heal so much, it's crazy. So that definitely bumps them up into the A tier. Not by much. Okay. Not by much, but they're definitely in the A tier. And finally, Ret Paladin. So Ret Paladin's probably the class that I've played the most in Dragonflight since the rework, you know. So they got insane bursts, pop wings and everything, and every 1 minute, you know. Don't play Crusade, that's lame. Just go 1 minute wings, that's sick. And you can just do a lot of damage. Good burst. Mobility is pretty, like, it's not terrible because you do have a lot of range in your abilities, but in order to escape fights, you don't have too much. But you don't really need to escape because you can usually outlive and outdamage people if you have like max buffs and whatnot. So like you have the Blessing of Freedom speed increase, which is 30%. You can stack that with the World PvP tier set at 10 stacks. You can also stack that with like speed gear, File of Alacrity, other speed increases. What else? You obviously have the Horse, which is the worst mobility spell in the game. Needs to be removed. And you also have this neat little thing you can do with Hallowed Ground and Consecration. If you take the talent that makes Blade of Justice, put a Consecration on the ground, that will remove all slows from you. So you can do that every 10 seconds. You just have to be obviously standing in it. So you have to kind of... It's good against like hunter pets that are on you if you're trying to get to a hunter, which you don't really need to because you can just max range. You can just attack them from range. But it's good for cutting melee because you can also take a talent that makes Consecration slow enemies by 50%. So you can cut pretty well with that. With like other speed increases, you can actually be fairly mobile. You can also remove magic slows with Judgment. So there's a lot of little tricks you can do. But still, overall mobility compared to something like a Demon Hunter, like it's non-existent. It's like a 2. Cooldown reliance. They aren't cooldown reliant because they have great self-sustain, right? Now, there's this thing you can do with the enchant weapon, Burning Devotion. Basically, it gives you a proc that will consume on your next healing spell that you use and make that heal for an extra, say, 20k. So you can turn your 50k Flash of Lights into like 70, sometimes even 80k Flash of Lights. So you can basically, and it procs often, so you can get like, during wings and whatnot, you can get like 100k instant heals, you know. And then World of Glory as well, like you have a lot of self-sustain, especially with all the healing buffs you can get from open world combat. So there's a 5 and a 5. They kind of go hand in hand with each other, these two here. And CC is like average. I'd probably give it a 2. But I think that'll knock it out of the S tier. And, you know, it's an S tier by far. Or is it? It definitely is. It's definitely an S tier spec for World PvP. Ret Paladin. So overall, Ret's 20. 5, 10, 15, 20. An easy S tier spec. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the video. That's the tier list. Obviously, it's pretty scuffed. Like, pretty scuffed tier list. It's not final. You know, there's some classes I'm not 100% on. But like most of the classes I do have a pretty good understanding of where they sort of fit. Don't forget to, like, you know, comment below if you think differently or if you have any other opinions. This isn't set in stone, obviously. It's fluid. You know, once I gather enough information, I could potentially make a new tier list. But yeah, obviously I'll probably update the tier list with buffs and nerfs of classes, etc. And yeah, so if you're in the S tier, playing any of these classes, you're going to have a great time in World PvP. Same with the A tier, really, honestly. If any of these specs, like, you know, you're going to do just fine. I'd probably avoid the specs in B tier. Like, I just wouldn't play them. For solo World PvP, okay? That's what this is based around. Yeah. If we were to rank them in each tier, I'd say probably be something like this. Yeah, Windwalker Monk's probably one of the best at the moment. I'm probably going to actually gear my Windwalker Monk up after this video, because they just seem like they have everything. Mobility, burst, defensive, self-sustain, half decent CC. Yeah. If we were to rank them in the tiers, I'd probably have to go something like, yeah, something like that. It's hard, man. It's really hard. It depends on so many factors. So that's the video, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed. If you did enjoy it, drop a like on the video so that YouTube knows this is good shit. And until then, I guess I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.